everybody. Welcome to another episode of Property Players. I'm your host, C. Mouzon. Got another great guest here for you. Again, a guy that we're just getting to know each other a bit, but I jumped into a clubhouse room, I believe, and he was just dropping some gems, or we got connected somehow, and then I see him over on Instagram doing his thing, so we got a chance to link up, and I knew I needed to have him on the show. So, Jovan Crawford, thank you so much for joining us on the show, man.
Chris, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm glad to be on the show.
Absolutely, pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine. We over here, man. We just jump straight into it. So let's just go in.
Sure.
Start with your origin story, right? Like take me back before. Like who is Jovan? I know you're in Chicago, but who are you? Like how did you get to this place? Take some time to talk about the origin.
I don't think we got enough time. It might take me a couple of weeks, but I'll try to make it short. So got started actually really early, age of 11. Family had a construction company. So at the age of 11, just doing the carpentry and drywall and that type of deal. And just kind of watching my family, which was actually my uncle with the construction company, just buying commercial properties, buying multifamily properties and fixing them up, and just being there as 11 years old, watching this. And he actually paid me like an adult. So I was getting paid just like any other adult, which was crazy. And growing up in the inner city of Chicago, kind of dealing with some of the high crime and being in those areas and going to those schools, a lot of the kids my age were turning to drugs and turning to things to illegal ways to get money. But at that age, a great incentive for me was to work with my family, make the money, save the money up. And as I started getting older, like, you know what, I want to really get into this. I see my family buying construction buildings and rehabbing. And so I decided to get into real estate at the age of 21. So I bought my first 3-unit at age of 21 using FHA financing, which is probably the best way to get started in real estate, because you got the low down payment, 3.5% down, which is still the same today. And I lived in one of the units. Actually, I lived we have in Chicago, we are really popular for having basements. I don't know if Chris, you guys have it out there where you guys at. So we have I lived in the basement, a single male, and I rented out the 2 units and did some of the construction work myself because of my construction background. And from there, I started, getting cash flow and saw that buying just that one property, I eliminated my rent payment, because the money from the 2 tenants was enough to pay for the mortgage at the property that I was located, and actually put an extra like $250 in my pocket. So for a young 21-year-old guy, a landlord, and getting money, I said, you know what, I have to do this again some type of way. But the second deal wasn't so easy, because now you got to come up with 20% down, 25% down, which can be very challenging for someone that's 21. Still working a job. I was a Comcast line technician, so it wasn't making a lot of money. So from there, just kind of working with my family, and they end up helping me with a down payment to get my second property. And then from there, that's how I started getting into real estate. Started buying multifamilies and start doing some fix and flips.
The rest is history, as they say.
Oh yeah, and just duplicating the process.
That's it. And that's a big deal. Like let's start at the story, because not a lot of people get the opportunity to have a family member, someone that they can look up to, that they trust early in the game, to be like, hey, this is the way to go. So what type of conversations were you hearing from your uncle, if you remember that time when you're getting introduced to it?
Great question. Some of the questions I was hearing is, one, I was taught, my story is different than most, but there is the story ended up getting very challenging down the road with credit, and I'll go into it. But some of the things that were just told to me is, one, the biggest thing was my credit. So, being a 15-year-old, hearing about credit, from where I was raised, where I'm from, a lot of people don't have credit, or, the type of family I was raised in that didn't have a lot of money and on welfare, those type of things. Some parents end up using their kids' credit, and they end up, really, putting them in a very terrible situation.
Yep.
So at a young age, I was taught from my uncle that was actually in investing, telling me how important it is to preserve your credit. What is credit, right? A lot of young people and adults don't know what credit is and how important it is, and how you can leverage credit to buy property, to get capital, get unsecured credit, and how important that is right? So just understanding what it is, how to maintain it, and learning that at 15 was probably the most important thing, or one of the best that he could teach me, almost better than construction, because even to this day, learning that me having access to credit allowed me to get into so many different things. And there's a lot of people that I come across, and students and investors, that what's stopping them from getting into real estate is their credit. So that is one of the things at an early age that was taught to me, and the importance of it. I heard it so much, it got stamped into my head. So that's one of the biggest thing. And then the second part was working for yourself. Because of the challenges that he faced working at jobs and discrimination and things like that, his biggest thing for someone like myself is to be an entrepreneur. If you want to go to school, great. I went to college and I dropped out of college because I hated school, and I was a C average all the way through. Yeah. So I knew I wasn't going to last in school or work for someone long, because I was probably the worst employee. So, but one thing he stressed to me is, one, work hard, right? Work hard, you work hard, can get anything that you want. And that's the biggest thing, is building my credit, working hard. And, when you're doing that, I was able to attain these properties and things like that because of those two things that he instilled in me.
It's a big deal. That's a big deal. So many people, and Jovan, I talk to a lot of people about this type of stuff, like how blessed we are to have this information and this knowledge, so that we can pass it down to our next generation, so we could pass it down to our kids. Because you had a bit of a head start, because at such a young age you were getting this financial literacy, you were getting this understanding of money that you can begin to build on. And there's so many of us that didn't get that, and there's so many people out there that are listening that didn't get that. However, now that you can find the information and it's out there, it's our job to now start having those conversations with our children, right? I was just talking about this with I think one of my buddies, about like the fact that I have a young daughter. My daughter is about to turn 4 at the time of recording this.
Oh, nice.
She is already understanding things like investing and saving. And
it's amazing.
Like already, because of just the conversations that we're having around the house. And so when you have these conversations at an early age, it definitely sets you apart. So like understanding that credit piece at age 15 obviously sets you up so that by the time you are 21, you have full knowledge, full understanding of exactly what you need to do. Who taught your uncle this stuff? Like, did he ever tell you like where he got this? Did he just learn it?
You know what? And the thing with him is he learned it from trial and error. Just, one thing he was really good at is he was the type of guy that, and I kind of learned this from him. If he saw someone doing well in the industry, right? Someone that's doing well, or someone buying a property, and say, "Hey, Chris, how did you get that property? How did you first get started?" And you'll be amazed at some of these, the elderly or the older guys that's in the field. No one ever come up to them asking those questions. So that's how he got started. Just talking to different guys that was in the business that he saw doing the same thing, and them willing to share the information. Buying them coffee and just sitting down with them. And actually, that's something I use to this day. When I work with students, I work with investors, partners. It's the same thing. Or if I'm trying to learn something myself, I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking to expand my business. So if I see someone in my local industry that's doing something, just like recently, I had an event downtown Chicago, met with some group of investors that's in our industry, and one of the guys was a developer doing some major things in Chicago. And one of the questions I say, "Hey, how did you get started? What would be some advice we give someone like myself that's looking to head in that direction, as in the development piece?" And now you got a phone number, now you can contact that person. So that's kind of how he got started. Yeah. And of course, he's helping me, and the same thing with me. I'm teaching other people how to get started in real estate as well. And
people are more helpful. Yeah, people are more helpful than not, and that's what I'll hear a lot of younger kids or people that are growing up and trying to become the entrepreneur say, "Oh, nobody's there to help me," or like, "I reached out to this person and this didn't work, or this didn't." And I'm like, most people that have knowledge, they actually want to give it to you. Like,
they do.
They're just trying to make sure that you're not wasting their time. And
that is the difference. They want to make sure you're not wasting their time.
That's it.
Picking their brain, and that is the difference.
It is. And the fact that you have that's something I also have, where I'm open to asking. If I see someone doing what I want to do, or
Hmm.
right, just is further along, I'm gonna ask them how they got there. And that seems like common sense to people like us, but sometimes, and for maybe
It's
some of
not.
you listening, it's not, right?
It's
But
not.
let me tell you, like that is definitely a key. That is definitely a key to get in the door you want to get into. Is just literally just by asking the question. Closed mouths don't get fed.
That's
Right?
correct.
Mouths don't get fed. So now just walking along your journey, Jovan. So now 15, understanding the credit piece, and now you're still in the construction side.
Hmm.
18, you're out of school. Did you go right into college? I know you said you didn't want
Yeah,
to.
so I did like most people, after I graduated from high school, I went straight to Northeastern University here in Chicago. And when I went to Northeastern, as soon as I got there, I just knew it wasn't for me. But what we get taught with the American dream is what go to college, get your degree, buy a house, a dog, and that wasn't. And I saw that I couldn't fit into that puzzle.
Sure.
So as I started looking into it, I enjoy because I was able to get some of this experience of working as a contractor or a laborer for my uncle company. I saw what my family was doing versus what I was trying to do, and I decided that wasn't for me. And that was the best decision I ever did was to leave school and to start a business, and still in business to this day. So that's something that for me that was probably the best decision I ever made was just leaving school and having a plan. I just leaving school, but having a plan and executing that plan.
That's good. That's good. What was that plan? Like when you left, you just knew you were gonna go directly into family business. Like how did
So
you?
for me, like you say, for just a different situation for me versus most people. I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to either be in the construction field or somewhere around real estate. So that's what I started doing. I started my own construction business and started all small, just doing some painting jobs, kind of see how that go. And as I started, I hired my brother, hired another friend, and it just kind of started building it out to where I can get a good feel for it. And I just enjoy being able to do that work for myself. I was hands on. I was doing the work myself. And then as I started branching out and started building my company, I started doing more of the supervising and managing. And then from there, went into getting my own property and working on there and, running the business. And then I had to go, work as well. I had to work a job like most people. So I kind of did everything. I was working a job full time. And I also was, managing my building at 21.
Mhm.
And before 21, from like 18 to 19, it was just pretty much me just running my business and just, supporting myself.
What's the biggest challenge in the construction space? Like as you're building the construction business, like what are the things that you see as the
Well,
hiccup?
construction have so many layers to it because when I worked for my family company, same thing with my family. They didn't have someone giving them the blueprint. They didn't have all the proper documents and licensing when we first got started. We just kind of just start doing it and learning for ourselves. So one of the things when you don't have the schooling, you're going to school for construction, there's a lot of things you don't know, different ordinances and things like that. So we ran into a lot of
I
issues
imagine.
with the city, because we were just getting started, just trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
Then other thing is about the construction side, which I'm not a big fan of. It's a customer service business as well because you have to work with clients and sometimes if you don't have the proper documents in place, being a young 18, 19-year-old guy, don't know about certain agreements you have. And then just being that young, a lot of adults at that time trying to take advantage of you being that young. And, if you're doing a job that you're, at that age getting, $10 or $20,000, and they see that you're this young, they know that you don't know, how to put liens on property. So just not knowing what you don't know.
Right.
And, sometimes you can, speed that learning curve up by working with other contractors, right? And working with them side by side or someone you could partner with that got the experience already
Yeah.
versus the school of hard knocks is kind of the route I went. So those are some of the challenges. And then just, being just a young guy at that time and them not really giving you the respect and, for doing the work that you're doing.
How did you and that sounds like the common pitfalls or for like anyone that's young getting into a business. How did you overcome sales and all that type of stuff? Like, are you a natural salesman? Like, is that something
Not
your
oh
uncle
boy,
gave you?
not one thing that I hate because I feel I'm not because I'm I'm a down to earth person, right? I know I got a shirt on tie today because I just left the meeting. But other than that, I would have my shirt on like you. Uh, but I'm a down to earth guy, and I'm a people person. Anybody I talk to, I can get along with. So I'm not a corporate guy. So I don't have the story of working in corporate. I didn't like anything with that. I just like to be out in the field. So any jobs that I did have, even the one I had at 21. I was a Comcast technician out in the field where I didn't have to be at the office. I didn't want to be at the desk. So, so as far as like, just growing and, getting out of some of those situations for someone that is young and that's looking to, or just that's young, that's have a business and they may face the same challenge. One of the ways I've overcome some of those challenges of being young is making sure that I have a presentation, right? So I made sure that I had a uniform on. So most guys may just have a regular shirt and t-shirt, boots. I made sure me and my brother, we had a logo, 18, we had a shirt. And then sometimes I would even tell them I'm the owner. I would say, hey, I'm the manager, I'm the supervisor, because for some reason, when you tell them the owner, it was giving me issues. So I'll just say, hey, I'm the supervisor. They call my, lot management called me or corporate group called me to come out here to assess the job. And then that's kind of how I would do it, just treat it like a job, and that's kind of how people respect it. When you treated it like a job, I was able to get more jobs, more respect, and then even when there was an issue, then say, hey, I talked to corporate, this is the things that we got to do. Just kind of, just doing whatever I could do just to, kind of get over some of those challenges at, being a young.
That's smart though, right? Like that's smart. In my industry, like being in the financial services space, it comes with the same thing. When people start off very, very young, you're
Mm-hmm.
21 years old, 22 years old, you're calling yourself a financial coach or even more so a financial advisor if you are licensed in that at an early age. People aren't going to take you very seriously up front. So yeah, you have to overcompensate, right? You got to wear the glasses, right? You got to do some things to make you look a little bit older, and you figured that out along that line of like, man, maybe I'm not going to tell people that I'm the owner because that's going to run into all these questions of my legitimacy. Maybe I'm just going to let them know that I am the manager, right? This is just what I do, and people will receive it better. That is strategic, and that was your mindset. Because again, not a lot of people have that mindset, but for those of you that are listening and paying attention to this, these are ways that you can get around your shortcomings or the thing that you think might be holding you back from making that sale or getting that client or whatever it is. It could come down to your approach and what you're actually saying. So this kind of, again, you said, you weren't the greatest in sales, but that sounds like you figured that out yourself, right? Like, is that more just that entrepreneur mind that
Well, yeah, and I think you sit home, you're trying to figure like how can I get over this hurdle, right? Because I am young, I can't change my age. So one thing that I saw that people respect, if you change. So perception is everything, right? So my first impression was everything. You can't get a second first impression. So I always make sure that I have, my car was clean. I had my advertisement on the car. My brother, we all looked a certain way. We had just the whole presentation, right? And then I noticed when you have that presentation, when you have the look, you have the uniform, and everything looked together as a company or because these people are working hard, right? This is their hard-earned money, and they want to make sure that the person they're hiring is going to get the job done. And so the things I don't want them to focus on is my age, right? So then by having those things, I was kind of able to get over some of those hurdles. And actually, I didn't have any issues once I looked the part from that point on. So it just came from just trial and error, just kind of just wearing what I normally wear. And that young, I look like the kids in that neighborhood that young. So they say, hey, is he gonna take advantage of me? Is he gonna rob me? So just wanted to look the part, speak the part. Like I said, I'm not, not a salesman, but I'm pretty sure I am because people can relate to me, and they make them
and
feel
you
comfortable.
yeah, and you were able to adapt, you're able to think on the fly, right? Like those are a lot of those same traits. But like I said, that might just go also to that entrepreneur mind because if your uncle's instilling in you talking about real estate and then also talking about not working for anyone, not having a job, and really going down that path, and you've been an entrepreneur, well, that's one of the traits also, is like how to pivot, like how to get something done. You'll do whatever it takes to make sure that you can get it done. So that's that entrepreneur mindset that, again, a lot of people need to adapt. They need to learn how to get it. Sounds like you've had it for a long time. Do you believe that mindset can be learned? Do you think people have to start off with it? How do you look at
Yeah,
that?
and that's great that you're saying that too. And with my students that I teach, as far as with multifamily, the first thing that we do before we start getting into analyzing deals and raising capital, that's all the fun stuff. Let's talk about the numbers. Let's talk about deals. Right. The first thing I do, which a lot of people like to talk about, I break down to the mindset. The mindset is just your mind overall. Everybody have different experiences, especially like with the pandemic and the COVID. So many things happen. People, family die. You have to kind of, speak to that person, break everything down, and a lot of stuff. Sometimes just your experience of having failures, these negative things follow you, right. And sometimes you don't feel that you can get this $1 million deal. Oh, that's too much. I don't think, because I only have, my account is negative, or I have a bankruptcy, and I can share with you, I have, I gave you the good part of my story, but I didn't give you everything that went left.
We'll get into some of that stuff. Yeah,
we will. But what I'm saying is, it's the mindset. So anytime I'm talking to someone, so yes, it can be learned, and you can change it. And some of the things you can do to change it is, one, is just surrounding yourself around the right people, right? So for me, I make sure that I'm around people that's in my industry, or people that's entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs kind of speak the same. So if I talk to you, man, even though you're in different industries, we kind of speak the same way. We kind of talk the same lingo. And then we speak positive. Like I'm always speaking, about, every day I'm trying to look at inspiration or something that's gonna help me, or something that can help me grow my business. Right. Versus someone that may hate their job, and then they're around other people that hate their job, and then we're talking about their boss and things that's going wrong in their job, and then their dog died, and then that stuff pour into your system, and it give you a roadblock. And then so for example, if I was talking to you and say, hey, Chris, I'm looking at getting this deal. I'm a little nervous, but I got the money. You say, you know what? Why would you buy that deal? It's too much money, Chris. You should keep your money to yourself. So you're getting all this from the other people. So it's changing your environment, changing your mindset. And then two, whatever it is that you're trying to do is really, at this point now in 2020, whatever, 2021, I'm probably going to date this, but when you have if you're born in this era now, there's access to so many things, right? So we got a YouTube, or like you said, we met on Clubhouse, and so many people you can get access to and hear information and take notes. So there's really no excuse at this point. And that's kind of the one of the biggest ways I start getting into real estate, just taking time, going over YouTube and researching and adding. So if I want to know something new, I just everyone can go to Google and, hey, how do I fill out a purchase agreement contract? How do I raise capital? And they have all the answers for you, and that's the thing I do now. I don't really even, at this point, I don't even watch TV. I haven't watched TV in probably months, because I fill that time up with podcasts. I fill that time up with YouTube videos. There's so many things I need to know. I know that I know my, part of real estate, but I don't know everything. And that's the same thing for people that's listening. I would say, if it's something that you're trying to do, don't make any excuse. Having the right mindset is just taking that time to get around the right people. Watch what that's why I don't watch TV, because so much stuff that you hear can get seep into your system. So I'm really advocate for speaking certain things out and just aligning yourself up with the right people.
Man, you're preaching, brother. You're preaching, because that's it. I talk about this all the time, right? This mindset piece. I've been on a personal growth, personal development journey for 8+ years. And really just getting serious, just like you said, right? We cut off cable. I haven't watched TV. I fill all my time with things that are going to actually get me to where I want to be, right? I'm listening to better things, and like you said, getting around better people, getting into better dialogue, and that's how you grow. A mentor of mine a long time ago told me, your money will only grow to the degree that you do as a person, right? So at the end of the day, like if I wasn't growing, if I'm not getting to that next level, my money is not going to grow either. And once I understood that lesson, I was just like, all right, well, I'm just going to grow. And I was always looking for new networks, new people to be around, right? New ideas, new conversations, new information. And so that's the place that we're in. I think what starts to cripple people now is because there's information overload. So what we're getting is, we're getting everyone that has the ability to find information or give information, in the money space. And I'm sure you see this in the real estate side, right? Not all the information's true. Some people are giving you false information, and it's muddying the water. And so that's why I'm trying to bring people together and really get that network of people that are going to give you the right information, that are going to show you and share with you the things that you actually need, so you don't fall for the stuff that's out there, because everyone has a voice now, right? And everyone can say whatever. But for sure, it's about following and finding the people that are that trusted source, and then you can definitely find it. So to kind of pivot a bit, why multifamily? Because you said something, right? Like, you've done some studying, you've done reading, right? You've learned and educated yourself in your space, and we know any type of investment, no matter what asset class you go in, even what branch of real estate you choose to invest in, they all have their own pros and cons. They all have different things in there. So why multifamily? Why is that the way you chose to go?
Great question. I've done just about everything in real estate, from wholesaling, from fix and flips, to rentals, multifamily, tax lien, tax deeds, right? And like you said, they all have different entry points to get in, different risk level. One of the areas that's the most popular that I hear from everybody is fix and flips. And the reason why fix and flips is the most popular is two things. One, HGTV. People love watching HGTV, seeing these amazing houses, and right. Oh, that's just the best thing in the world. And people say that's what sparked my interest to get into that. I want to take an ugly house and make it look amazing. Right. That's the first part. The second is you hear people advertising, hey, I made 40,000, I made 50,000. I put a check up of $75,000, and you say, you know what? I'm only making 30,000 on my job. I'm only making 50,000. This guy did this deal in 6 months, and he made $75,000. The problem with that is they don't tell you all the ins and outs of that. They tell you just the positive, and this is the difference between someone like me, which I could say as a guru. I mean, I actually do real estate. I do this for a living. Right. Versus one, you have the gurus who made their money doing real estate. They don't no longer do it, and things always changing in real estate. So wholesaling, they preach wholesaling because nothing against people that want to do wholesaling. I've done it. I do it if it makes sense. I didn't like wholesaling because I didn't like the idea I had to sit at someone's house all the time and try to negotiate the numbers with them, it was just too much to me, too much work. But you didn't have to put a lot of money into it, and you can make money doing wholesaling, and it can take some time depending on what strategy that you're going with. I didn't like the idea I have to physically keep going to people's houses, and right. It was just too much work for me. And I know that there's other ways that they're doing it now. Fix and flip was pretty cool, right? Fix and flips are good when they're going well. Only problem with fix and flip is still a job, right? It could be considered a high paying job. Is earn income. You have to be there. You have to manage your crew. You have to be there with the contractors. And then if you take on a project and which happens to be plenty of times things go left, you can lose a lot of money. And I know people that do their very first flip and never get back into real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So why rentals or multifamily? Multifamily, I like to get a multifamily because it's minimal risk, right? And then it's just understanding what I call your investor ID. So for Chris, what type of person are you? What type, are you a person that like to deal with construction? You're a person that don't want hands off, or it just depends on your personality. Everybody is different. So for myself, just kind of going through all the different real estate strategies, the thing I like about multifamilies versus everything else, one, I kind of see this meme that goes on Instagram quite often. They say wholesale is a quick check. They say fix and flip is a fat check. And then they say multifamily is basically a lifetime check. So it's lifetime. So for me, I'm not looking at today. I'm looking, and I have two kids. I have a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old, and you have a kid yourself. So my thing is not just for myself. It's just building, what they ever say, generational wealth. It's setting myself up to not just get a $50,000 check today, which if you can spend $50,000 pretty quick. You can spend it in less than 30 days, and then now you got to start back over. You got to work just that hard every single time. So with multifamily, as you buy a multifamily and you start setting it up, you get access to appreciation. So in the area that I'm at, properties are appreciating in the particular area, suburb I'm working at, is appreciating. I had a property that I bought 5 years ago at $215,000. It's now worth almost over $350,000. So almost $150,000 in equity in 5 years. So that fix and flip I would have did way back 5 years ago, that money is spent. But this property, guess what? Over the last 5 years, I received one, I'm not paying a mortgage. I'm receiving cash flow every single month, and my money is going to work for me. That's the difference. My money is going to work every single day. And on that first, I'm getting a check, direct deposit into my account. while I'm working on something else, or like now I'm talking to you on the podcast and a direct, a check just hit my account. This is the fourth, so I just got a check right now. So those are things I like about multifamily, because it allow you to, and also after you stabilize it, I don't have to do no more work, because the way we set things up, we automate it and have a property manager handling all the headaches or all the myth that we hear about multifamily. I don't want to deal with the sinks and evicting people. We have systems in place. Once you get educated, we got things in place there where we hands off and we minimize the risk. So we get the build equity, we got access to appreciation, and then with depreciation and filing your taxes, if you're a person that's a high earner on a corporate job and you got 100,000, you're making $100,000, that's a lot of taxes that you pay on your property. But imagine working that job and having a multifamily property and offsetting those taxes, and now a person is making 100,000 on their job and having a multifamily, you're now saving on taxes. So those, that is the reason why I do multifamily, because of all those benefits I just mentioned to you.
Yeah, those are all important benefits too. It's about how you're thinking about it. Like you said, is this generational wealth, or are you taking that quick money that you're gonna blow anyway, right? How are you really thinking about it? So it's again, you're right in line with what I think, because I'm in the multifamily. If I'm not investing just yet, but that is the goal, to invest in multifamily on our side, because we care about that generational wealth. We care about the cash flowing asset, right? Like those are the things that we pay attention to. Walk us through that first deal though, right? Walk us through that first multifamily. All right, now I got it. And what was the process going through it?
Great. So the first deals were smaller deals, right? So these were more of the 2 to 4 units. So this under 4 units. You want to hear more about the commercial? Because commercial is for us is the 5 units or more. So the first multifamily commercial.
Yeah, start there.
Okay, so the first multifamily commercial was a big thing, right? Because now things change. So when you get into commercial multifamily, 5 units or more is commercial, right? 5 to 100 to 200. Anything under 5 is residential. So there's a different type of financing. So when you're buying a residential, they're looking at the comps. When you buying a multifamily, they're looking at the comps, and they're looking at the NOI and the cap rate on the property. So if you drive the net operating income, so that's your gross of the property versus your expenses and what's left over, if you drive that net operating income up, now the value goes up. So my very first deal was a 5 unit deal in Chicago. And when we purchased this deal, it was just a headache just in the negotiation process. So just kind of, for me, I always try to figure out
off-market deal.
Off-market deal.
Gotcha.
So one thing that I do in Chicago is I network with a lot of wholesalers and people that have off-market deals. This was an off-market deal. It was a person that owned this property for close to 30 years. And it needed some update. It looked like the 1980s, old paneling on the wall. But this one had 2 storefronts, retail storefronts, and it had a small convenience store, very small, like maybe about 1,200 square feet. And it had like a small restaurant next to it, which was vacant. And it needed some work. So they did have 2 tenants in there. So they had two residential tenants, and they had 1 storefront tenant. So out of the 6 units, it was 3 that was occupied and 3 that was vacant.
Okay.
So that first deal was working with a lender that requested for us to put 25% down. I did not have the money, and my credit was terrible. It was like 430.
Stop right there. So stop right there, right? So you're already looking for these deals, knowing that you don't have the money and your credit's not good. That's that mindset piece that we're talking about, right? How did you get into that mindset, knowing I'm a find this thing, and if I find it, I'm gonna still put it together? What were you thinking during that time?
So one, before I get into any deal, even at that first multifamily, my first residential property, which was a multi-unit, I learned from that deal. And just kind of just being in it, asking, like you say, asking questions. I ask a lot of questions. And I get answers to those questions. So then I start implementing what I've learned. And one of the things I've learned is that before I get into a deal, you have to prepare for that deal before you even get into it. So exit strategy. Before I even touch a deal, I have at least 2 exit strategies, how I'm going to exit out of this deal. If I cannot find a way to exit out of this deal that makes sense for me, we don't even touch it. That's before we start, as we evaluate, before I even go look at the property. I'm at home. I'm looking at loopnet.com and looking at the numbers on the deal, and I'm working the numbers out. And then once the numbers make sense, I say, you know what, this would be a great deal. You know what, who do I know that would be interested in making money with me on this deal? And then that's when I'm going through my Rolodex. Hey, I'm gonna call Chris. I'm gonna call this person. Hey, Chris, I got this great deal. I don't know if you're interested, if you know somebody that's interested. So, hey, this is potentially what we can make on this deal. We're looking to exit out in 2 years and do a refinance. So that's what I'm doing. I'm calling everybody. I'm putting it on Facebook. Hey, I got this great deal. I'm looking for a partner. At the time, looking for a partner. If somebody want to partner with me on this deal, some great numbers, call me, inbox me. And the biggest way I end up starting getting investors and potential partners is I would go to a meetup. So are you familiar with meetup.com?
Yep.
I would go to meetup.com, find a local area or RIA and go there. And the RIA that I was going to in Chicago, they will allow you to pitch your deal. So if you have a deal, I just ran my numbers and I just put, small, I wasn't too professional, but I just put some numbers together, just kind of talk about the deal. I print out what the realtors put online. I say, hey, I got this deal, a 6-unit deal, and these are the numbers. It's a great deal. We're looking to close in the next 30 days. We're looking for partners that may be interested in making a double-digit return. And everybody after that just came to me, got their number, and I put it together. My biggest thing was follow up. I hit everybody up the same night. Hey, I put a picture of myself because sometimes people forget who you are. Hey, I'm Jovan. We talked about this, and hey, can we talk and have coffee? So I set it up in the beginning before I even started looking at properties, knowing that my credit was bad, knowing that I didn't have any money in my account. I didn't have anything in my account, but I had this, remember, mindset, and I had the knowledge, and I was educating myself. So I knew that it didn't have to be my money. So OPM had to be someone else's money. As long as I started getting good at deal structuring even before I even purchased my first property. So anytime someone is looking to get into real estate, I tell them the first thing you should do is just evaluate your market, your backyard, and know it very well. And I knew that property like the back of my hand once I decided to put an offer on there. So before I put an offer on there, I already talked to the person I was working with, someone that was really to give me a verbal commitment, work with the lenders and learn what they was looking for. And I kind of put that piece together and I was able to put on the contract. So that's getting into a deal with bad credit. So people say, oh, I can't get in a deal with bad credit, I got the money. It's really the mindset. Once you take that roadblock out of your head, you have access and do anything that you want to do. It's just, putting things together. And then when you need help, call the right people. That's why I was setting up certain partnerships to call, hey, Chris, I need some help with this. Can you help me with that? And that's kind of how I was able to get that first deal.
That's it. And that's such an awesome story, man. And it's going to help a lot of people. I know people that are listening that want to get into their first deal or want to be able to dive in and don't know where to start. They have bad credit or whatever the case is, right? Just hearing that you could get started, you could still put together a deal despite the financial situation you were in.
Oh, yes.
Means for everyone else they can do the exact same thing. The big thing I want them, people to hear, and for anyone listening, the networking aspect of what you had to do before all of this
Yes.
that led up to the deal.
Yes.
Right? Before all of the deal and get all of it coming to the table and all that stuff, you had to have a Rolodex. You said you were able to go back through, which means you had to have one, which means you were doing a lot of networking. Tell me about your networking in the days that you were, building out and kind of getting into the.
I do this. I'm doing it with you right now. I'm always, and networking is not always to raise capital. It's just one to just meet you never know when we may partner up this year, next year. You may know someone that may be interested. I may know someone that may be interested in what you're doing. So I'm always, at least before COVID, is going to a meeting like at least, and then I got to like three times a month. So almost like once a week, just going to these meetings that's in the field or whatever you're looking to do, and just being there, socializing, and looking presentable, and just speaking to talk. Sometimes, and again, I didn't always know how to speak the certain language, or even know how to analyze a deal. It's just kind of being there. And sometimes I met people and we just had coffee, and they just was willing to share knowledge with me. And I just kept everybody information. The biggest thing that I see that for most people that's getting started, that's trying to network, is that they don't follow up. That is where everybody falls short. Hey, I'll give you a call tomorrow, and they never follow up. The one thing that I do is that no matter who I speak to, if I speak to 10 people, I get the information, get the email, regardless of what field that they may be in, whatever field, I always follow up. If they can be in a hair salon, they can be in whatever, there's a mechanic shop, a flower shop. I always follow up, let them know who I am and what I do. Hey, this is what I do. My name is Jovan. I help people get double-digit return in real estate. And they always say, double-digit return? How so? Hey, let's have coffee and I can tell you more about it. And that is important. So that's before I even have a deal, right? So as long as you always networking and you following up with these people, you get a Rolodex of these individuals. You say, hey, Chris, if you don't mind, hey, I got deals that come to me from time to time. And if you may be interested or not, but do you mind if I send you some information on there? You're like, oh, great. Yeah, I'm interested. My dad may be interested. Just send it to me, Jovan. And that's kind of how I do, just get that going. And then, just go from there. And then it's not guaranteed that you're going to close on a deal, but I won't even put on the contract unless I get a verbal commitment that you're willing to commit funds within like 2 weeks. But that takes time as well. So it's just building a relationship. I don't just, even when I work with partners and investors, sometimes it takes me almost 6-7 times to talk to them, because again, they may not know you and never met you a day in their life. They want to get a good feel for you, see how you talk, how you, your morals, that type of deal,
It takes time to build a relationship. It takes time.
Oh yeah, you can't rush it.
You
You can't rush it. So that's why I start, like, now I might be the person that I talked to today may not be ready to commit to December or August, but it's just always talking to people and all. And it's funny, I got a call today. Someone is watching me on Facebook. I'm always, posting related to what I do, right? So I know Instagram, I got one thing that's happening over there, and then Facebook is more like personal people that know me, that I interact with. So I make sure me walking in a property, hey, I just celebrating my wins. That's what I call celebrate my wins, and show people they can do the same thing, right? By doing that, what happens is there's people that are watching in different states that's like, man, I see Jovan with his kids, I see Jovan doing real estate. And then I had a guy reach out to me, they just say, hey, I want to talk to you, I want to talk. And we end up connecting, and he said, hey, look, hey, I'm an investor. Hey, I just sold one of my companies, for some pretty good money. I've been traveling, and I'm looking to not do anything else with real estate, but just collect, income, and I'll be willing to partner with you. And that's just by posting what I do on Facebook, right? And I wasn't even looking for any investors. So
it's huge. It's huge. And again, I'm glad you're saying it, because I've been a big proponent of social media and continuing to build those
powerful,
and have the conversations. And it's just, I'm glad you spoke to it, because I just come across so many people that they just shy away from the networking part. They shy away from building relationships. Like they don't want to step out of their comfort zone. I don't know. Maybe they just call themselves introverts, or they just think they don't need to talk to people. But like, they really don't understand that old saying, right? Life is not about what you know. It's about who you know. And
yes,
that is the truth, especially if you're in real estate, especially if you're in some form of a business where you're getting clients, or there's a customer service aspect of it. It's going to be about who you know, and diving in and building those relationships is so important. And then look, right? The more that you listen on social, and the more that you put out content on social, the more that people get around you, or start to get, see what you're doing. And then they reach out when they need something. And that puts you in the best position to then build a business, to get more clients, to get more investors, to get partners. And I just never understood why people shied away from that side, right? I was told a long time ago, the person that shakes the most hands is making the most money. So I was like,
that's true.
Let me go shake a bunch of hands, right? Like this stuff is common sense to me, but not to everybody else. You know what I mean?
But things, like you said, things are changing too, even for the people and I'm like that at times. I kind of got to force myself to go out and network, because I like my personal space, and I like doing things on my own. But at the same time, even now with the pandemic, it really helps the people that don't like to go out and network, because now it's actually acceptable for you to do meetings online.
Exactly.
They're doing so like with meetups now, they are doing like the virtual meetings where you can introduce yourself online. You don't have to shake anybody's hand. And even like I said, with me, I just post what I do. Sometimes I show me and my kids. I even show my kids at the project sometimes, and I just speak. People like you, they're not going to invest with you because you're this smart guy. You make millions of dollars. I got someone invested with me on one of my deals. Never met me, but it was a referral from one of their cousins, like $70,000 to do a real estate deal. They didn't know if I actually did real estate or not. They never seen any projects. They went off of their field because I came and met with them at a kitchen table with their wife. And people sometimes they just work with you because they like you.
Yep.
And that's it. And sometimes you just got to be who you are and be yourself, and then show people what you're doing. And people can see if you are not doing what you say that you do. It's kind of easy after you speak and talk to the person. Just be yourself. And even if you don't know, I'll say I'm a person, I like to be transparent. If I don't know something, you ask me a question, I'm gonna say, I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that. And people respect you for that.
They definitely will. People do business with people that they like and trust. right? Social media transparency earns trust. The more transparent you are with people, the more they can trust you, the more they'll do business with you, right? It's a pretty simple formula, but
True.
again, people have to figure this thing out. So as we kind of wrap this thing up, talk to me about like where you see the multifamily industry, like, as an investor. I know there's, things have been changing like crazy on, the
Yeah.
landscape. So is inventory going to open up, or prices going to drop? Like, what are you seeing?
So that's a loaded question. It's a loaded question. So it's a few things that's going on. So one, and what market are you in?
So I'm outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah. So in most markets in the United States, you're experiencing, no inventory. It's not a lot of, it's very little inventory for the residential property. So like the 1 to 4 unit single family homes, that is very hard competition. The prices are going through the roof. Investors like myself are not buying these properties because they're overpriced, and the newbies, the new investors that don't understand the market are buying them because they get into what is called bidding war. So you find a property for 200,000, you like it, and it's a turnkey property. Guess what? Someone else come in and put extra 10 in it, and you guys, I'm not in the business to do that because it don't help with my bottom line. So on the residential side, actually, I see it getting worse because there's some things that's about to be passed in Congress that's going to allow more people that's on the fence to go ahead and start getting into the real estate. So they're proposing certain things where they may give you a tax credit to purchase a property. So now the people that was on the fence that didn't have the money, now you got more people that's going to join the market. So now again, you're driving that price up, and it's still a seller's market. Now it's a little different in the commercial multifamily. So when you're doing the 5 units or more, it's not as much competition, or it's not as many people that's fighting over deals like it is with the residential. But the other thing that you have on the multifamily, now they got multifamily, say they be talking about 20 or 30 unit, there's people that's not paying their rent, right? So you're having issues like that in New York, what we call like a lot of states have not allow you to evict your tenants. So if you do have some tenants, you have a 10 unit building, and say that half the building is not paying, now that's hurting the landlord, and that landlord may have to come out of their pocket depending on how it's structured. I know some horror stories out there. So you really have to be strategic and planning to buy multifamily, and know that there's a possibility that your tenants may not pay because of what's happening right now. And then the other way of looking at it for someone like myself, I like to buy different type of properties. So sometimes I buy value as the properties that we tend to buy may be properties, say like a 7 to 8 unit that may have occupied and have vacant. So we are collecting rent, and then we go ahead and getting other tenants in there. One of the things that we do, we work with people that's Section 8, and a lot of people are against it. But for us, and we've been doing it for a while, 90% of our portfolio is Section 8. The reason why we like Section 8, for even right now, we haven't missed a payment.
Guaranteed income.
First, I had a lot of people that used to laugh, and they tell me their horror stories for Section 8. But we treat Section 8 tenants just like everybody else, right? We screen them. We go to their property. We have a system. We do quarterly inspections. So we treat them like market tenants and everybody else, and we don't have the same issues. Of course, we do sometimes, but we treat them a certain way, and we make sure that we have a system in place. And because of that system in place, we're able to get guaranteed through this whole shift in the economy first of the month. So for me as an investor, and that is important to me, that when it comes to the finances, that I'm getting that number, that money to support my family and things like that. So far as on the multifamily, now the other side of it, so you got to be careful of, what's happening with the market with the tenants, because that's not going to really change. Then the other part of it is the people that's looking to start buying, that's on the fence of buying a 10 unit or a 20 unit. There's about to be a nice amount of things that's about to hit the inventory. So for the ones that's on the fence, I say, if you get on the fence, start collecting your money, start working with your partners, get your money together. Because at some point, with the forbearance and all these things, there's what we call a mom and pop investor. There's people that's not going to be able to maintain these properties. So when these things off market properties start becoming available, you want to be in a position where you can buy these properties, and then you want to take those property and where the landlord mismanaged, and you come in and you can add value and bring in your team where you can now make the money and set yourself up to win. And it's going to be, and I'll say within like the next, I would say within the next 6 to 7 months, it's going to be a major change, and the economy is going to make a major shift. So I would say continue, getting your money together, getting your partners together. Right now, it might be a little rough to get a property, but really soon, once the things start changing, there's going to be so many properties available. And it's going to be some amazing deals. You want to make sure that you have your things in order to get these deals.
That is wise, wise, wise advice. I've been saying it. It's time to get your money right because there's going to be
Yes.
a bunch of deals in the very near future. So that's a great way to end this episode, Jovan. I appreciate it. Tell everybody where to find you. Where can they find you?
Sure. Across all social media platforms, Jovan Crawford, JOVAN CRAWFORD, senior. So that's SR. So I am a senior. I have a small sign. So it's Jovan Crawford, SR on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Awesome. And also website is www.jovancrawford.com.
Awesome. We'll link it up here in the show notes. But man, you guys have heard him. He definitely can give you some of this knowledge that he's, acquired over the past, 10, 15 years being in the industry, understanding money, understanding entrepreneurship, getting to that place of building generational wealth, but really being able to advise and kind of walk someone that's a little bit newer in their path, down the path of investing in multifamily, commercial multifamily, whatever that is. So reach out to Jovan. He's there to help. Like I said, we got connected on Clubhouse and now on Instagram. So reach out to him. He's going to be here to help you. But I appreciate you stopping by, dropping some knowledge on the listeners. And man, in the future, we have to do some business together, man. And
oh, definitely.
Because Chicago is one of those markets I wanted to get into eventually.
It's an amazing market.
Absolutely. The power of networking. This is what we do. So again, I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on tonight, man.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I enjoy myself. Anything I can do to help, please, reach out.
Absolutely. We're here. And until next time, we're signing off for Property Players. Again, I'm C Mouzon. We'll talk to you guys soon.